This episode is sponsored by Fostering UK, one of the UK's premier fostering agencies. If you've listened to this podcast for a while, you will know that we do not promote things lightly. If we talk about it, it's because we genuinely believe in it. And this one's personal. Louise actually fosters for them. After years of difficult experiences elsewhere, particularly around poor support and lack of real therapeutic understanding for the children in her care, she transferred to Fostering UK, and they do exactly what they say they do. And that's rare in our sector. They are therapeutic foster care specialists. The support is real, the training high quality, the matching is thoughtful, and the relationships feel human, not corporate. They focus on quality, proper therapeutic training, minimal placement breakdowns, and genuinely putting carers and children and families first. So, whether you're completely new to fostering or you are an experienced carer feeling unsupported and thinking about transferring, this could be very, very, very different for you. If you'd like a personal introduction, you can email us at sarahanderson@fosterwiki.com or Louise at louise-allen.com. Right, let's get into this episode. Hello and welcome to Foster Care Uncovered. I can't believe it's the 12th episode and still going strong. The numbers are fantastic. I can't actually believe it. We thought one or two people would listen, but there are thousands and thousands downloading it. So lots of amazing feedback. Very, very exciting. Well, I'm sort of, do you know, the first time in about a month I've actually feel like myself again a bit. What with the bereavement, the family bereavement, the brutal flu bug, and then the can I call it shock of the new so-called reforms? I don't think it was that. I think it was just the devastating feeling of deja vu, the regurgitating of the old stuff and it all being exactly the same, just with a bit more clever spin. But we'll get to that in the newsy bit. How's your week been?
Sarah, yes, I'm glad you're much better. You're sounding much more perky. And sorry you went through. My week's fine, busy, lots of projects bubbling away, lots of things happening, which is really exciting. Yes, I know I've always got one eye, one ear on the situation within fostering and what the government are delivering in terms of reforms. And yes, what's that lovely saying? Same meat, different gravy, I think is
Yeah, yeah,
quite
absolutely.
relevant here. But let's unpack this and let's crack on.
Yeah, right. Well, so in the news this week, first of all, I'd actually like to say, and I'm sure you're finding the same thing, I have never seen activity on social media like it, ever. Um,
Mm.
the fury, anger, and despair, I'd say, going around social media about fostering. And of course, it was on the back of Josh McAllister saying, you don't work, it's not a job, and clearly trying to put foster carers right back in their box, back in their place. And then announces reforms on retention and recruitment. That the two things just don't go together. I think what has happened is it's destroying retention and therefore recruitment because the only people that really recruit other carers are carers themselves. And if you went on social media right now and put foster care in, you wouldn't touch it with a barge pole. And it has got 100% worse since those reforms were announced. And it's really, really dispiriting. It's heartbreaking. So, what has been going on this week? So, this week, we are going to talk about the fostering network again, and there's a good reason for that. Some would, message and say, oh, leave them alone. They're just trying to do good for the fostering sector. They're not actually. They're not. Did you like my voice?
Oh, that's too
Still a
much.
bit unhinged
I had
here.
to look away there.
Um, they there are, they're an organization that runs off their own agendas. They have, the hierarchy. They're run by social workers and led by social workers, saying that they're the voice of foster carers. What we have to do, and they are so closely entwined with government, and government do their bidding and vice versa. It's absolute manipulation of our workforce, of us and of everybody. And if we don't, we have really called this out recently, but we intend to call it out until every foster carer says, I do not want to be a member of the fostering network. Thank you very much. Because, a lot of their funding and the way they can afford to do this is because they have 300 or 400 fostering agencies or local authorities who are their members, right? Not the foster carers. So when they go to the government, actually, it's even got madder this week. They're now claiming they got 60,000 members. Well, there
How,
are only, I'm not sure there are that many foster carers.
I thought there was 44,000 foster carers.
So, anyway, so now they've got 60,000. That's actually in writing on some message from Sarah Thomas, the CEO. So their numbers are always a little bit questionable. But they haven't got 60,000 members. They have 300 or 400 contracts with local authorities and agencies. If anyone's a member of anything, it's the agencies and local authorities. But they're not even a member. They've got a contract. So then what the fostering network do is hijack every single carer that is in those local authorities and agencies and call them their members.
Now,
Now,
when I was teaching at the university, like a lot of large organizations, and we used to, the employer, the HR team would opt us in
yes,
to the union. We would be opted in.
yeah.
Then we were optional.
Mm, mm.
And then it's not really discussed anymore. So are
Is it
the,
legal to do that?
yes, it's legal if
No,
they,
legal for them to just make somebody a member without telling them or asking them?
that I do not
Questionable,
know.
isn't it?
It's maybe that's something you like to get your teeth stuck into these
Mm,
things. Maybe
mm,
you could ask one of your many legal
mm,
friends to
mm.
ask them that. I generally do not know. Um, but I mean, I was a member of the fostering network years ago when we joined one particular provider, and I wasn't quite sure. I did, my emotional and attachment to them or my awareness of them was quite minimal. I didn't
Mm.
realize what they are. Like all these organizations, you only find them out when you think you need them.
Yeah.
And then when you need them, you then find out what is really available. And sometimes that can be quite not what you thought it would be, because when someone says they're there to support and help you, you expect them to support and help you in your situation, but your situation might not fit their service or their delivery. So I
I
yeah,
think you're being kind there.
well
But
yeah,
also think about it. I think the union and things like Foster Wiki support would never ever have come about if they were adequate. We haven't
no,
done these things. These things have cost us personally a
yeah,
fortune. They've cost my mental health a fortune in terms of, the trolling and the threats and the difficulty, especially in the early days, not so much now, but trying to battle through this sector to get foster carers some kind of recognition value,
safety.
anything. But we would not have spent our life's work creating these organizations and the union, which had to go through court for 5 years before we got it. Why would we have bothered to do that if the fostering network and Foster Talk were any good?
Hmm.
We wouldn't have bothered at all.
I think the people too that I don't know, people vote with their feet, don't they? So I'd wonder if the providers who are signing up to these particular services feel that they're getting an adequate service. Now, they might be, I remember talking to one CEO that they were turned into the service because one in particular, I can't remember whether it was the fostering network or what's the other one, the foster talk,
What's the talk then?
because they offered a particular medical support. But the medical support that that particular CEO mentioned was the same medical support you could get free from the NHS. It was about
Mm.
writing prescriptions.
Yeah.
And I thought, gosh, do they really know what they're buying
Well,
into?
also, we did ask that particular person what we thought he thought they got with Foster Talk or Fostering Network, can't even know. And actually, he didn't know.
No,
And then I said, do you get legal support? He said, oh yeah, they get legal support. I said, have you read the small print?
this is a
No.
bit.
Do you understand what legal support that is? Because all it is a solicitor if you get arrested or interviewed under caution. And he said, well, that's odd because you get one anyway, don't you, as a citizen? I said, well, exactly. So he
Yes,
said, but no, they give you a legal team and an allegation. I said, no, they don't.
and I don't, and I
Not
think
the
that's why Fos
CEOs believing that's the case. And I think what annoys me the most is this fact that people are automatically made members without being asked, without opting in, without knowing actually what they're even members of.
yeah,
And then the fostering network dare to claim that they're all their members.
yeah,
Now, fostering network, if you're listening, get back to we have 400 members. If you want to call them members, they're contractors. Say we've got 400 contractors. They have
mm,
foster carers and we speak to some of them. But I suppose that brings us back to the first thing on our news item is that it's now become part entwined in this. Well, I'm sorry, but it's gaslighting of these reforms. Um, they've they're already a done deal before they did any kind of consultation with anybody. I know that there's this big meeting coming up. Well, it's not big, it's next Wednesday. I know there are some new little organisations have been invited along and are all terribly excited about it, but I'm simply not because we've been engaged with the DFE for, well, as you know, you're part of our executive committee with Foster Wiki for a good 4 years now. Seat at the table in the tent, the whole 9 yards. And it's very difficult to get anywhere because all that work we've done with them, all the papers we've written, all the research we've done, all the surveys we've done, and that's what you come up with, Josh McAllister's latest reforms. And it doesn't reflect any of that work whatsoever. So I'm glad that those people going, they won't get a photo opportunity because Josh McAllister's sweeping in the middle and sweeping out again while everyone's firmly pinned to their seats. I declined. I can't see the point in it. There will be some people who say, oh, you've just got to, just being there in the, no, it's just manipulation. I hate to use the word, but it's gaslighting. It's gaslighting a whole sector into thinking they're being heard. So what happened this week? Very, very short notice, about 2 or 3 days notice. I doubt somehow that they gave 2 or 3, this is the fostering network, for this meeting with the Department for Education. I'm going to be very cynical here and say, I doubt that their favourite people had 2 or 3 days notice.
what do you mean by that?
Well, there were 500 people there. Again, it's like, massaging the figures saying we've got in excess of 700 people here. No, they hadn't. It was a webinar. 500 people there. I think you'll find that well before the 2 or 3 days, they were, lots of people were invited who were on message. And then at the last minute, they sent out some emails because we knew many, many people in the waiting rooms getting refused.
Right.
And there was few on their blacklist they were refusing. Same ones that they've banned and blocked from, social media and
Why
so
would they ban and block them from their social media?
because they're not aligned with the message.
Oh, so censorship then.
Yeah, complete
Right.
censorship. I know that many foster carers have put in complaints procedures through the fostering network. Some have been reinstated, but not everybody's done that because they're not all brave enough. No, they've blocked and banned a lot. So they announced this meeting, and it's very sad that the Department for Education decided to just do that meeting. they've not spoken to us, to any of the majority of foster carers, not the other 96, 99%. I find it reeks of discrimination. There's nothing inclusive about it, and it stinks of inequality as well. But it also is theatre and performance in order, and also pointless because they've already much of it's already gone through. It's already a done deal behind the scenes. So this is how often do we see this? I mean, you must have had it when you've been to foster care consultations at the local authority. What about Devon? Typical examples. It's all rubbish.
That still haunts me, that entire experience when we were at Devon, because
Yeah, me
the
too.
executive team just laughed. They laughed at the
They
foster
were
care.
laughing at carers who were speaking with tears running down this thing.
Yeah, that really
They
just, I
weren't.
found that
They were.
disturbing.
They were so upset about what happened, and they were making the most impassioned speeches about don't do this because it's going to ruin our workforce and damage our children. And they had the perfect reasoned arguments why. Yeah, and they were. I hate to say it, but they were all white, slightly older than middle-aged men, all of them, par one or two, sat round on the what was it called? The Not the committee, it's called something else, isn't it? Anyway, and they were literally laughing at these people.
I mean, I
It
have
was
a memory,
horrible.
a memory of that day, and because I'm a writer, I guess I'm an artist. I focused on things the little things. And I remember that some of the leaders that you were talking about, the men, had Disney socks on and Disney ties, which I find quite sinister now, knowing what we got going on in the Epstein files.
Mm.
But I remember that kind of, it was that their tokenism, was that their nod to the foster carers that they cared because they wore Disney
Yeah,
socks.
yeah. It
And
was,
it was
oh,
quite horrendous, and I remember feeling like a lot of this work that we find ourselves in this landscape we find ourselves in, is the treatment of foster carers. It's just horrendous.
yeah. And it was horrendous. And this reeks of that, this new reforms and the way they've gone about all the stuff was already in place. Then they announced it and made sure they had all the right people on the sofas. None of us had a chance to
So
do any input to that launch of the reforms. The reforms are nothing new, regurgitation. Even the money's old. There's no new funding. It's a disaster. And then Josh McAllister made it even more of a disaster by his terrible remarks. I think, and we did, but if you want to know about the reforms, go to last week's podcast because we did break them down and analyze them in that. So this meeting started. I of course have been sent recordings by many, many people that were in the meeting. They recorded it all for me. Some did
is this
trans
the meeting, the
at the
webinar?
Department for Education with Fostering Network.
Right, this is
So
a live meet. Is this an online
it was
meeting?
online,
Right, okay.
and so people recorded it and sent it to me. The it was a bit of a farce, really. It was just as though they were reading through the reform paper, but surely anyone can read through that. There was no explanation really behind it. They skimmed over things like the extensions, which we know maybe will affect 1% of carers, if that, and are a disastrous idea anyway. Lots of mockingbird propaganda, lots of propaganda about in-house peer support, which we've already said you can't have in-house peer support. We've been down that road so many times. It needs to be independent. And it was kind of dressed up in mockingbird as well. It was a real, fostering network, I'm sure, were very excited about it. And again, the lead person from the fostering network was a social worker. The other lead person from the fostering network had fostered at some point. I don't know why he'd stopped, but it was he's got his own businesses and stuff now as well in marketing and digital stuff. So um,
Can
I
you
would
just
question people's sort of agendas there. But anyway, he was there. But the DFE team was Joe, who and David, the new lead. But there was a lady there, Orla, who is new to that team. And we'll come on to that in a minute, but I won't talk about them personally because that's not appropriate. They are part of the policy team.
Can I just quickly ask for people who are joining this podcast that don't know what Mockingbird is, can you quickly, in a nutshell, explain what Mockingbird is so that people
Yeah,
understand?
Mockingbird started in the United States of America some 20, 30 years ago. Wasn't an overly successful model there, but the Fostering Network bought it as a franchise, I would say about 14 years ago. And they embedded it into this country. And what it is you have one hub carer who's the central hub carer who's paid more than the rest of them. It doesn't matter if they're experienced or not. I don't know how they pick them, but they then have these satellite carers around them, which means that they can use them for respite and support and stuff. Well, this, I won't. I've done plenty of articles on the failings of Mockingbird. They, after 14 years, it still only reaches 4% of the population. What they don't include and seem to be able to disclude when they speak to the government, all the failures and the disasters and the amount of children and carers it's affected badly. So that does not come into play anywhere. The fostering network lobby like crazy, make sure they're the only people in the spaces. I don't know how they manage to persuade government quite like that, unless government, of course, are just on board with what they do and they don't want to do any more. So, no, Mockingbird is not the success it's made out to be, not even vaguely. And there have been so many unreported, shocking failings of it. So, yeah, and the propaganda around it is quite extraordinary. So it's not even theirs comes from the States. It hasn't really worked. I'll tell you where it's worked, allegedly, Stockport. Because every single time they roll out Mockingbird or they roll out somebody, the TFN roll them out on the carpet, on the, they go along on their coat strings to the DFE, sort of like puppet like, really. It always seems to be Stockport. But I think the hub people there are also on the trustee board or something. It's all very, cloak and daggers. So, but I can give you many places like Haringey, like a lot of others, where it is an absolute abject disaster.
So Mockingbird, in effect, recognizes the
And
need for.
it's huge, cumbersome, and expensive. In fact, research, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there. I've done a typical Sarah, but the research has shown, research done by what's the homeless paper called? Mm, the big issue. The
Right.
big issue did a big piece of research on carers and homelessness. And actually, it turned out that the biggest amount of homelessness of children leaving care is in providers and agencies, local authorities that have Mockingbird.
Oh goodness,
Yeah,
that's wow.
I'll put a link in the
Yes,
bottom
I think
there. But the reason they reckon that is that it's so resource heavy. It takes away all the money and resources from places where it is
right.
needed.
So I mean, it's
That's
good.
not my words. That is the
No, no,
research.
but
Mm.
it's good that there is recognition, and it sounds like there has been for a long time that foster carers need more support,
Mm.
which is the very reason that most foster carers are leaving, that an allegation. So that's a good thing. It sounds like there is a big commitment from the fostering network and the government on this because the fostering network, you say, bought the franchise.
Yeah, they bought it in from the United States, but it's 14 years ago. And I
Right.
beg to say, if it was going to be a success, we wouldn't have seen 4 years in a row of less care. They claim it's the answer to retention, but 4 years, 14 years, it hasn't been so. It was very, very stayed the same for many years, but the last 4 years we have had lost more carers than we've gained.
So I
Now,
wonder,
but they put millions into Mockingbird. Now, I just can't understand why.
well, I'm
It doesn't
wondering
move the dial and it's so
whether
uninclusive. It's,
whether it's as a business model in terms, if you took this out of the government sector and you put this in, say, the hands of the private sector in terms of, business sense, say, you'd want a return on that, wouldn't you? You'd want value for money. And I just wonder whether projects like this can tend to sit in government sector more than they would survive in the private sector. So perhaps, there's the commitment to commission and to invest in this in the first place is has become a kind of, I don't know, what's the word? A kind of personal thing, whether it's like they're determined that it's rolled out, where perhaps in if a business brain, you'd be thinking, well, it's failed, it's not working, I haven't got a return, moving on. But it feels emotional. It feels like someone's not letting go of it. And I know, and I know that local authorities particularly talk about Mockingbird because and it's like within the local government, they like to use NHS services. They like to use government-based public funded services where you can use services, but it doesn't mean they're any good. It's like with
Mm.
CAMs, it's like, you got to use CAMs, you've got to use CAMs. So what using CAMs means is you go on a waiting list, but the delivery of service isn't happening for a young person. So I think it's that public sector versus private sector brain.
Yeah.
And, and I think it feels to me like there's a little bit of, a lot of resistance in actually holding it up to the light, perhaps, and having a good look. But I mean, I know that you've done a lot of research. I didn't know about the big issue research, and
Mm.
I'd be grateful if you did put the link in on up there for people to see. I had no idea that had
Yeah.
been done, but it makes it even more interesting.
I think that also you can't get away from the, our episode 2 with Joe Handley. That inner circle. Do you remember in COVID, it was jobs for the boyfriends, wasn't it? It all went, huge amounts of money went to mates and stuff. And because I cannot rationalize funding such a failing thing to such a degree, I can only imagine there's all trade-offs and, there's skullduggery going on,
Murky.
yeah, murky stuff, and who's friends with who, and who stands next to who on the photo ops, and who's in the network and who isn't, and I think we can't ignore that. It's just because it's children's services, we think, oh, surely not, but unfortunately, I think it's even more murky than a lot of other places.
Yeah, interesting, interesting.
Right, shall we move on to one of the big there was a big problem in this meeting. It wasn't a very big problem because it was so surreptitiously kind of pushed in under the rug that actually a lot of carers said, oh, that wasn't said. And I've had to actually transcribe the exact thing. And I do have recordings, so I know it was said. So they slipped this in again. I've heard this before as well. It was said by one of the new members of the DFE policy team. I was going to say young, but then maybe I'm being discriminatory. But not fostered, no idea about the fostering sector and young. But then, the policemen look young to me, so I shouldn't be so shouldn't be so discrimination. That they're thinking of giving, this is how it starts. Remember the creep. They oh, we're thinking of, oh, we were, but I've heard this before. They're thinking now in these reforms that fostering families only need one social worker. And they presented this as some kind of innovation that the foster carers would love. Now, of course, which social worker do they suggest the families have? The child social worker. And I know you'll have something to say about that in a minute. Actually, somebody raised yesterday, of course, I've got 4 children, they've all got separate social workers. So
Yeah,
that I hadn't even given that any thought. So they presented it as, oh, you were going to love this. Foster carers consistently rate the supervising social worker as their most positive relationship, and now they want to take that away as well. So this mirage of support is just complete BS. No protection, no buffer. Also, who on earth is advising them? It'd be disaster for retention. When we've put this up around the social media sites, literally, like you can go read it yourself, person after person, if this happens, I'm out. Not even, oh, I'm not sure, and it really badly affect the children in their care for so many reasons. At some point, she says in there, oh, we'll be getting rid of the supervising social worker and just where appropriate. But of
What?
course, that's the thin end of the wedge, isn't it? Where appropriate, like for longer term placements and things. We know how these policies creep, and we know the dismantling starts there, doesn't it? Oh, where appropriate, So
Mm.
I'll let you speak on this as well as me. But what do you think about this idea of the carers just having one social worker and it being the child social worker?
I would argue, do we need the child social worker when in so much in a long-term placement? We need our supervising social workers. We rely heavily on our supervising social workers to make sure that we're doing our jobs properly, but also as a therapeutic support. Most supervising social workers offer advice. They are a listening ear. Not only that, they are a buffer. They are the people that, particularly if you're in an IFA, and sometimes with the LA, not so much because there's all conflict of interest and it's all a bit can get a bit hoity. But they can go and they can make sure things happen for your children. They can make sure that you are safe, that your children are safe. You take your supervising social way, who do we have to protect us? We don't have anyone.
No.
So, and if we have, I mean, at the moment, I've got two different children's social workers. I mean, they're so different.
Yeah. You
Who
can't possibly, if you've got more children, you can't possibly have one social worker, can you?
no, and but it just, I mean, the whole idea, frankly, is nonsense. It's a
Mm.
no-go. Don't even go there. If you want to get rid of everybody, then go there. But then why do they want to get rid of
I
everybody?
know that's back to
Why,
that old
why
Murphy
do
thing.
they keep doing things that is making our children more vulnerable and available to
Mm.
unregulated children's homes? I'm just leaving that there because
Oh,
it's
just
a big
let's put
question
that
mark.
out there.
Yeah,
Yeah, and on
put
that
that one
note,
out there.
shall we go to an advert break?
Yeah.
Right, see you after the break. This is an advertisement for Foster Wiki Support Plus, the premier support services for foster carers by foster carers. This isn't generic support as you know it. It's real backing from experienced carers who understand the job, the pressure, the responsibility, the isolation, and who stand alongside you professionally. And here's what carers absolutely love. Many of the top-rated national foster carers qualifications are included free in membership, and others are heavily discounted. They're not tick box courses, they're nationally recognised and can count towards accreditation. So if you want to be an accredited foster carer, this is a powerful place to start. We offer them because we believe foster carers deserve professional standing, recognition in teams around their children, in being informed, educated, and confident. So, support, qualifications, accreditation, go to fosterwiki.com and click on Foster Wiki Support Services to join. Honestly, for just $6.99 a month, you can change your fostering world and have backup you never dreamed possible. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. So we're going to have a little irreverent look. Let's lighten up a bit. Irreverent look at foster carer marketing and adverts. So, well, gosh, where do we start? We can choose some of our favorite ads. I'd like to talk about the infantilization and you love your word social capital. No one with any social capital is going to come into fostering with these adverts. But again, we've got to ask the why, haven't we? Lots of grim videos with, lots of grim videos. And it's all the same people saying it's so rewarding, and all you need to do is open your home. And we've had 567 children in 6 years, and it's been absolutely wonderful. The unspoken damage of lowering quality of applicants through this type of advertising is horrendous. And yes, we are going to call it out. We're going to stop pretending that all the foster carers coming through are marvellous. They're not. There's some shockers out there. I don't blame them. I blame the people that have hired them and the advertising. So actually, someone sent me one this morning. So we've got our own to do, but I'll read this one out to you, Louise, and you can tell me what you think. This one is, and we're going to name and shame, aren't we? This is the National Fostering Group. One more place at your table, one foster child's life changed.
No, please, please. This is terrible. I'm so, oh my goodness.
Terrifying.
Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Well, as a lot of people know, my world, my world outside this particular podcast and fostering is marketing. I've worked in marketing. I was involved in TV and radio all the way through my 20s and early 30s. So I've done lots of work about selling stuff, about selling services. And what we what we're seeing here is the worst thing that can happen for our children is we see a normalization of extremely high turnover of children as heartwarming when you talk about, oh, I've had 567 children. How is that heartwarming and how is that normal? And why have you had so many children in care? Did they come for the afternoon? Did they come for morning? What
Did
is
you
with
just keep giving
you?
notice on them, or just chucking them out the door?
Because what they won't talk about is that for me, I think the real success is having a child and keeping a child for as long as you can in a stable setting to do the work. And that work is helping them heal, surreptitiously in your home whilst doing other great things. And the fact is the unspoken damage that these adverts do when they say, can you repeat that line for me again? One more
One more
time.
place at your table, one foster child's life changed.
Right, because if it's so easy, why are we all burning out? And also attract, who's it going to attract? It's not going to attract people who are prepared to understand trauma. It's not going to, it's only going to increase the placement breakdowns. That's probably why they're having 567 children, because they know other people with 567 children. They're all moving around. It just harms children further, burns out carers quickly. It increases placement instability, and it's a waste of public money and your own money. So if you're a business, this is a waste of your money and your safeguarding, because what are
Mm.
the messages you're saying that foster carers are disposable, but children are disposable. Children are just commodities that you move around, sausages on a conveyor belt. They are not. These are
Sausages are. I've had some sausages. Little sausage.
there
But
is
no.
it's depressing, and you said over. I didn't know that about that one till you told me. And I'm disappointed with them actually, because I expected more from them. But the one you sent from ages ago, who was it? The fostering
Yeah,
agents.
throw one at me. But also, don't you think it smacks of desperation? And rather than smacking of desperation, maybe they should go back a step and fix what's the underlying problems. But that's for another day. But throw one at me.
Well, the mop. I remember the mop.
Oh, yeah,
You
yeah.
talk me through the mop when there's a couple. Clip here. There's a couple holding a mop with a t-shirt on, with the
Yeah.
mop's hair.
So the mop's got dressed, they've dressed a mop and put it at the table, haven't they? And then they have the mop on a bicycle teaching it to cycle. It caused an absolute outrage. And to be fair to them, they did take it down shortly after we got out there how terrible that was. But this is that whole thing about empty nesters. And I really, really hate that desperate smack of desperation when you're doing empty nesters or you can't have children of your own. Children do not replace other children. Can I say
That's
that again?
dangerous.
Foster
That's
children
dangerous.
do not replace other children. If you think that's the case, step away now because you will be disappointed, not rewarded. And
Yeah.
we know, several people that have, well, also don't forget 30% of these new carers are gone in 12 months anyway. What a waste there. But yeah, so the mop advert was not, it was so demeaning on so many levels that a foster child was depicted as a mop,
It's beyond demeaning.
and that carers were sitting there infantilized, like loving this mop. I mean, the whole thing was just, this is the problem when you get marketing people, at least with Louise, your marketing company, We Are Louise, at least they have you advising them. Not, it's not, because you know very well, as brilliant as that marketing team is, your marketing team, they'd do the same thing here if they thought, if they didn't have you, because they think that this public narrative is what it's all about. And
Well,
that we have to change it. Give me
we do.
another one.
We do. Well, there's icing cupcakes, sprinkles everywhere. There's a picture of a man,
Oh yeah.
two children, in what.
Icing cupcakes, sprinkles everywhere. Your everyday is everything a foster child needs. It's not everything they need.
No, they were
It's
really.
so far from icing, cupcakes, and sprinkles. I'm afraid to say that's one of the regional recruitment hubs fostering East,
Oh,
which
really?
they're just about to get more millions to do the same thing
Well,
in in the reforms.
as a proud non-baker myself,
Yeah,
because I
me
really
too.
can't be naffed, I just go to the shop. But I love the children baking. There are other things to do than bake a cake. There are really creative things. And what this sort of advertising does, it minimalizes the scope of activities that good foster carers can do because we are a bit better than that. We can be a bit more creative. That yes, we can go out in the garden, lift a rock up, and look at all the lice underneath. We can explore the countryside. We can do things better than sprinkles on cupcakes. And it just goes to show that no one really understands the work that we do,
No,
which is
no,
why when you in our previous conversation about these ideas of removing supervising social workers, if I'm a very calm, reasoned human being, but I do get very knocked at the constant supply of information and good ideas and suggestions given to foster carers and the children by people who've never walked in our shoes.
no, no.
Because you will never understand the
Mm,
crucial nuances to this work that make it and
mm,
break it.
mm.
Because they don't understand those things, it doesn't work. It's not
No.
working.
And
But
also, I would like to say there that you pick up a point there that you said. Not one single person that rolls out these adverts, not one single agency director, manager, social worker, not one single marketing team, not one single consultant. Imagine all the money going into it all. Not one single of them fosters themselves, yet lectures the rest of the population, shames them a little bit even, tells them how brilliant and brave they need to be. Not one of them steps up and does it themselves.
well, I just think if you really know about this, why aren't you doing it?
Yeah. If it
Why
is,
aren't you doing
yeah,
it?
it's so, I mean, what's that one? It's like this is the typical one, isn't it? Is uh yeah, become a foster carer, become a hero.
No, we don't want heroes.
No, we're not no heroes. Be brave, be brilliant, be a foster carer.
No, just be
It's
yourself. Be a little bit
it's
imperfect. Be yourself.
Yeah, it's just sickening, that is kind of advertising. Also, this one as well, an introductory guide, and it's obviously a marketing tool, foster care associates to finances, talking to you about your allowances, national insurance, and claiming benefits.
Why should we be advising people about claiming benefits when they're already? Can you hang on a minute? Sorry, can we just sort of unpack this one? So they're advising, so when people become foster carers, they're offering advice about claiming benefits. Is it is it then that in the private sector that people who are on benefits the owners or the private sector are then claiming money again from the government.
Yeah, so the
So
government subsidizing
I
their
just get my
profit.
head around this. Can you explain? So as a taxpayer, so I'm paying for people on benefits, which is my duty, and I hope that they aren't abusing it. So I've got that going on, and then we're paying also out of another budget to fund children in care.
Yeah.
But the people who are making the profit are making the profit from people who are on benefits. Am I getting this right, or am I just
No, I
going
think you're
barking?
getting it right, unfortunately. So they're basically using the benefit system to prop up their own profits. Really, isn't
Whoa,
it? It's a bit
what
like
do we
that.
know about this?
I expect there's some
Wow.
people out there, commissioners and God knows what, probably FCA as well, shouting at the podcast. But the other thing for me as well is how are you going to attract people into fostering if you say, come and do this amazing job on benefit? You've got to be on benefits. We're paying you so badly, you're going to need to be on benefits. You don't say to social workers, do you, or to anyone else in the sector, um, come and be a social worker and we'll sort out your benefits for you. You
This is
we should
shocking,
be
isn't it?
paid well enough not to have to be on benefits.
And
Surely,
also,
given that we do the most important, one of the most important roles in the whole country, and yet they're expecting you so much so they're doing a manual on it and an advert on it.
this is absolutely terrifying because what the children need, they need foster carers who are able to understand trauma, which requires a particular kind of level of intelligence. It requires a level of agility to go and invest knowledge into that and research. We need foster carers with social capital. And when I talk about social capital, we need foster carers who are basically connected in the workplace to open doors for our young people, to have conversations at the dinner table with some element of expectation that they will go into university and apprenticeships and training, that there is an expectation and a normality that that is what people do, because our young people have to become financially sustainable and independent. And if they're living with people on benefits, they're not going to have that social capital. And I know that, again, people won't like this, but for goodness sake, we owe this to our children to help move them forward in their lives to financial independence because our country's economy needs it. So
Well, and
what
yes, and also, I mean,
is
the other thing is this absolute abject lack of ambition for children. You know,
terrifying?
they're not ambitious enough to, they're all they're saying is all you need is cupcakes and sprinkle, could be able to do icing cupcakes and sprinkle everywhere. All you need is to be brave and brilliant. All you need is to have, what is it? I have fostered her sparkle and found some of my own. All you need is a spare room and a big heart. All you need is, and remember, it's all you need is that so many adverts. All you need is actually, no, you need a great deal to do this job. I blame the people doing these adverts, not the people coming into fostering, because they come in under a false premise.
Yeah.
That's why it goes so desperately wrong.
And I think it's at this point I want to because I knew we were doing this today and I don't want to criticize everything. I want to criticize the fact that we're not doing our best for the
Yeah.
children. I think
Mm.
that the marketing is we're not doing our best, but there are reasons for that. Now, being a marketing person, being understanding visual communication, understanding the visual language, knowing about how all this works is a career in itself. It's my background. I went to art school. I understand the importance and richness of what is perceived as propaganda, what is good marketing. That took years to learn. But we're asking people in local authorities or wherever on minimum budgets that have very slow, clunky machinery, bureaucratic machinery. So you could be in a local authority wanting things to happen now, but you might take a year to get something signed off. So Sarah and I, from the very beginning, have said we want more foster carers.
Yeah.
We want informed foster carers,
Mm,
definitely, and
mm,
we want good foster carers. And I want foster carers with social capital because when I was young and in care, I really needed that because I was clueless about how to do things. So
mm,
that's what we want. But before I came on, I checked with We Are Louise, the marketing agency, which has got my name and I'm a director of. And I talked to Kurt. Now, Kurt is a brilliant human being, and he has set up. Now, we're this is free, and this is a service to local authorities who are struggling for budgets and struggling for ideas, and to maybe the IFAs that might just use a local marketing company but don't understand fostering. It's called the Open Door Club. You can contact Kurt Wilson Locke on LinkedIn. Kurt Wilson Luck, not Lock, Kurt Wilson Luck on LinkedIn. Ask about Open Door because in there is a free, this is free. There's a support group for anybody who's working in this sector to genuinely help children and young people learn about marketing, learn how to create content on videos, learn how to do all these incredible things and share ideas for free.
mm.
So get yourselves on there and then you will not feel so alone. And a lot of this, Sarah, feels just like everybody's trying to do everything. And marketing is a
Well,
vicious
I don't
communication.
go there sort of. I'm going to push back a bit there because, first of all, if you're going to have those open door things, you've got to be specific about what it's for. If it's for children learning marketing, that's fabulous. If it's for foster care people learning marketing, that's fine. But obviously, I'm hoping you're in that as well because you cannot carry on with the marketing as it is. It's terrible. Now, I would also say that the way that these adverts are rolled out is not because they're overworked or under budgeted. A lot of them are really fancy budgets, and the regional recruitment hubs have had millions from the government to come up with cupcakes and sprinkles. What I would say is the people running these adverts have not got a clue about fostering. Now, they will say, oh, we can't tell them the truth. Well, there's a couple of things wrong with that. First of all, shouldn't that go to the Advertising Standards Authority? You're not telling the truth. That's hopeless. But secondly, our truth is a fantastic role.
Yeah, can
Our
agree.
truth about fostering would get more people fostering than this.
Yep,
But our truth does not get listened to. And as soon as they do start listening and consulting with us, we
yep.
will help them recruit more carers. You and I are both recruiting more carers already.
I know.
Had reactions from even one Fostering UK sponsored last week's podcast, and we've already had a handful of foster carers step forward from that one 50-minute exposure. Now, we know that you work for them and they do what it says on the tin. Now, we are happy to promote anybody out there who does what it says on the tin, who uses a much better assessment process, who properly qualifies their carers, who teaches them right from the start how it goes and preferably does not use skills to foster. So, we are not promoting foster care, but we're saying it's got to be right. And these kind of adverts are the start of the rot.
I think so. You're absolutely right. The infantilization, the cutesy metaphors, the cartoon drawings, token gifts, the over sentimental framing, it's all got to stop because we are, remember you're trying to recruit people who are adults making serious life-altering decisions. Becoming a foster
Yeah.
carer is a serious life-altering, life-changing decision. Treat us like professionals in training, not volunteers at a bake sale.
Yeah,
You've
totally.
got to stop that. It's not working, and it ups the blood, doesn't it? On
You don't see an advert, I know, all right, fair enough. We're not social workers, we do something different, but our job is as valuable. It should be as respected, and it is as important, and honestly, maybe a little bit more important, because without us, none of it would exist. And I'd say when you're going to advertise this job. You don't see a social worker's adverts with little coloured stick men all over it and hearts and flowers and all you need to be a social worker is a bit of love. It's so demoralizing, so infantilizing, and we have to stop that. It's the same as when new carers get assessed. I've seen it all over LinkedIn and Facebook. They're standing by some crappy Christmas tree or a poster with a bunch of garage flowers and a little certificate saying, I just became a foster carer. I mean, the whole thing is hideous. So, yes, we're promoting. I'll finish on that for myself. Yes, I promote fostering hugely. I did it for a very, very long time, and it made my life. I wouldn't be who I am today without having those children, having that experience. Exhausting, yes, burnout, yes, but also the up moments are just phenomenal. So definitely foster, but I'd say come via us for a start so we can point you in the right direction, get you the right education, and let's stop the rot of these adverts, stop the desperation, and fix the conditions that have led to this desperation.
I agree. We can do better than this, and we can work together on this. And we're here to help. If you're a foster carer and you want to transfer from your provider right now because you feel that is what you want to do, talk to us. If you want to come in to be a foster carer, talk to us. We would definitely, as Sarah said, point you in the right direction. We've got to get rid of this fostering propaganda because all it's doing is leaving everything we do incomplete. We risk unintended consequences, and those consequences on the ground at the chalk face in the homes are that foster carers sign up to something which they were missold. They feel cheated, they feel anger, but while they're feeling cheated and anger, they might have a young child with them. Children in the homes of foster carers need to feel the kindness, the calm. We don't need to feel, these children are hyper vigilant and very sensitive to how adults feel. And those children might misinterpret that disappointment and all those issues that the misinformation can present against themselves because they don't understand the bigger picture. And what we are doing and what we must all do is remember that everything we do boils down to the safety, emotional and physical safety of all these children. They come first.
Yep. The children come first. And on that note, I think we'll end. So hasn't been much laughter this week, but maybe we'll laugh more next week. It's
I
been
think,
a
well,
tough couple of weeks for humour, hasn't it? So,
there's a lot
you know,
going on.
there's a lot going on. So thank you so much, everybody, for listening, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. So it's bye-bye from me.
It's bye-bye for me. You have a good week. Take care.
Bye.